Hi, just a few things before we begin. The winners are based on whatever was the biggest award ceremony at that time. First few years we followed DICE Awards, then Spike Video Game Awards became kind of a big deal, so we swapped to them. And finally in 2014, Jeff Keighley kicked things into gear with the Game Awards, and as you probably know, that one is like the Oscars for games, so we will follow that. And don't mind the occasional self-reflection that I go through. I actually hope this will take you on a little journey down memory lane as well. I mean, we're talking about a span of 25 years. It's just crazy how things have changed. But yeah, it's a long list, so let's begin. I hope you enjoy. Games were evolving a lot back then, and this game was very unique, so yeah, I'm not surprised at all that Sims ended up winning Game of the Year award in 2000. And oh boy, thinking about this one makes me feel like a f***ing dinosaur. No joke, but this is actually the first game that I ever paid for. But I didn't buy it from the shop. My friend's older brother was running a little side hustle and he told me he can sell it to me for 10 bucks. I worked my butt off for at least a week doing chores and stuff to earn this money. But I finally got it, and when I got home, I couldn't get it to work. You see, the brother acquired this game through alternative means. I was very young, so I knew nothing about that world, how to crack games or anything. Let's just say I learned a lot that summer. Took me a while, but eventually I got it to work. But like I said, I was young, so I didn't really even know how to play it properly. But that didn't stop me from having fun, using the money cheat and building weird houses. Or, you know, sending a guy into a tiny room and deleting the door. Yeah, that kind of fun. Oh, please, just admit it, you did that too. The second one is not a big surprise either. Winner of 2001 was Halo Combat Evolved. Unfortunately, I didn't have an Xbox, and this one was an exclusive. I was on PlayStation, and this is pretty much when the console wars also began. The PS2 was a gift, so I never chose a side, I just fell into one. We were never swimming in money, and I was just glad I had anything. So yeah, I completely missed the Halo train, but I didn't miss the fact that it was an absolutely massive game when it came out, and I did get to play it eventually, so I understand why it won. Battlefield 1942 won in 2002. First installment in the long-running series came out with guns blazing. It would meet its biggest competition the following year when the first Call of Duty was released. So a battle of titans began that still continues on to this day. But yeah, I played Battlefield 1942 a little bit. Dipped my fingers in it, tested it, maybe for an hour. The thing is, I did that at my uncle's place because he had the game and he had a good computer. The toaster that we had at home, well, it could barely run anything beyond Microsoft Pinball. And now we're jumping into 2003 with Spike Video Game Awards. The first ever Game of the Year award from them went to Madden NFL 2004. I was never into sports games, to be honest. I played some racing games and fighting games, but I didn't really care for anything else like NHL or FIFA. So yeah, if you remember playing this, I'm sure you had fun, but it's not for me, not my cup of tea. And personally, don't even know what to say here. Didn't play it, don't really care. Next. Oh, yes, baby. Now, this one I did play. We all did. I had a problematic childhood, and this game was also my escape from reality, you could say, so this one is special for me for special reasons. But anyway, as you can see, in 2004, the Game of the Year went to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and nobody else even had a chance. Okay, well, maybe World of Warcraft, which released the same year. You think I couldn't afford it? That game would have ruined me. But this was the magical time of gaming. I mean, people were lining up and spending the night outside shops. Everything is digital now, so nobody does that anymore. But yeah, forget about birthdays or Christmas. This release date was more important than all of that. This is the year when calling in sick because of a game became a thing. Check the history of pandemics. There was COVID, and before that, it was basically every release date of a GTA game. It was madness. Can't even express the excitement that I had. What? What was that? Was I 18 when I got the game? Well, listen, let's move on, people, okay? It's a very long list. Leave your questions in the comments. We'll talk there later. Resident Evil 4. Winner of 2005 and definitely an S-tier game. Older Resident Evil games were getting a bit outdated gameplay-wise. You know, they had a camera locked in a corner of a room and characters literally moved like tanks. Not that Leon was super agile in Resident Evil 4, but it was a massive improvement. The devs were brave enough to try something totally new with 4, and they made all the right decisions. The following sequels tried new things too, but none of them really landed in the same sweet spot like 4 did. People loved it and didn't stop talking about it, which is good because in 2023 we received the remake, and once again they made all the right moves. I think the overly positive Steam reviews speak for themselves. Also, very happy to see that Requiem is getting the similar praise. I really want to play it, but I just haven't had the time yet. I need to finish some things first, like this damn list. You don't mind if this video ends here, do you? No, I'm just kidding. Please don't leave me. The gates of oblivion opened in 2006 and doom swept the land. Once again, we had kids missing from schools and adults not feeling well enough to go to work. It might not look like much these days, but back then this world looked better than ours. Actually, it still kinda does. We have some corrupt orange fat in a suit making a mess of the place. Oh yeah, and files or no files, he is 100% up. But hey, let's not open that can of worms. Where were we? Oh yes, of course. The magical world of Oblivion. It was beautiful. We all wanted to live there, but it was not all happiness and fairy dust. Some fans felt like the RPG elements were downgraded compared to Morrowind. This is where Bethesda started to take its first steps towards accessibility to appeal to a wider audience. Back then I was still young, so I didn't really care. I guess I was the target audience and they succeeded. I mentioned before that I had a computer that was a toaster, right? This thing did not run well at all for me. Settings all on minimum, 800x600 resolution, and still trying to reach even 30 FPS was just a distant dream. But even then, I was so mesmerized I just powered through the lag and sunk so many hours into it. It's kinda sad, yeah, but that was gaming for me as a kid. Every once in a while, a game shows up that feels like it should have a category of its own. And that's exactly what 2007 winner BioShock felt like, for me and for many others. Now, this might sound cheesy or cringy, but hear me out. Story, art style, gameplay, and music, all of these things combined the right way can create an immersive masterpiece. But what I'm talking about is something that can reach even beyond those combined elements, something that can really get a strong grip of you, makes you feel something you haven't felt before, or change the way you think about something. It has the ability to bring up all of your vulnerabilities and secrets to the surface. Usually it's because it connects with something you experienced in life, some kind of a overwhelming challenge, or perhaps losing someone close to you. Could be anything. And I'm not talking about just BioShock. This is such an individual and personal thing. We all find them in different games. Often these are not games of the year winners or even nominees. You might find yours from a tiny indie game that nobody even has heard of. But the point is that when we find one of those experiences, it's the best part of being a gamer. There was some solid competition in 2008. Games like Metal Gear Solid 4, Fallout 3, and Gears of War 2. All of these won many major critics awards. And then there was Little Big Planet, which actually won Game of the Year at DICE. I played them all, except Gears 2. Great games, but I do have to agree with Spike Video Game Awards, which chose GTA 4 as the Game of the Year. So we are going to stick to that one. I also remember a reviewer saying that video games should be part of Oscars because games and their stories had reached such a cinematic peak, and if that would happen, then GTA would definitely win. And I think he was absolutely right, because I had started noticing it myself. I watched a lot of movies and played a lot of games, and the fact is that there were some games popping up that had way better stories than some of the movies that were coming out at that time. As an example, Metal Gear series. Very easy pick. Incredible stories in every single one of them. But back to GTA 4, a really good story and probably some of the best characters in a GT series. I didn't get my hands on this one immediately, it was a few months later. I didn't have a console at the time, I only had my PC, but well, actually before I continue, do you remember what was one of the more famous lines from the game, or maybe even infamous?
Nico, it's your cousin. You want to shoot some pool?
Yeah, that's the one. Basically anything where Roman would call you to hang out. Now, guess who had a PlayStation 3? It was my cousin. We hanged out together a lot playing GTA 4, and you wouldn't believe how many hey cousin jokes we made during that time. Pretty much non-stop every time we did something or went somewhere. Good times. In 2009, gamers were eating well. Arkham Asylum, Assassin's Creed 2, Dragon Age Origins, Demon's Souls, Borderlands, I mean, come on. But the one who got its hands on the golden statue was a treasure hunter who is loved by everybody. No, he's not Indiana Jones, but we all know where the inspirations came from. It was Nathan Drake from Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. I've played all of them and I've loved all of them. Don't really have anything bad to say. If anything, one complaint was that some of them were very short. But at the same time, that's kind of the point, because they were like summer blockbuster movies. But instead of watching, you actually get to play them. And if you force in some extra filler just to make it longer, well, that would absolutely make the game worse. But I guess then the question falls down to, is it worth the full price? Now, this is a tricky argument. There isn't really a right or wrong answer here. If you love the game, you will say yes. If you didn't, you'll say no. You know what you like. Just do a little bit of research first before you buy. Unfortunately, I do have to admit that not even doing research is a bulletproof tactic. I've looked at many games and thought, oh, this one is definitely for me. But after playing it for a while, I realized I made a huge mistake. You win some, you lose some. In 2010, Rockstar Games did it again. It had some issues during development, which resulted in the roughest launch ever of a Rockstar game. But still, Grand Theft Horse managed to get the first place that year. Another Oscar-worthy story, and oh my god, that ending. If you know, you know. Being a Western was obviously one massive draw. Western games were pretty much dead. Developers didn't have any faith in them. The last big Western that we got before this was in 2005. It was a game called Gun. It got positive reviews across the board. It was even a commercial success. So why was there no sequel? Well, it was considered, but apparently a commercial success doesn't mean it sold well enough. Funny, huh? And another fun fact, they actually didn't want to compete against Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption. And I kind of understand. I mean, who would want to go against Rockstar? Nobody. Even the biggest developers move their release dates when a Rockstar game's coming out. But anyway, in 2004, we got another Western called Red Dead Revolver. They steal? No. Hold your horses. Red Dead Revolver was being developed by Angel Studios, which was funded by Capcom. But the studio was later acquired and rebranded into Rockstar San Diego. People from Rockstar saw that they had this half-finished Western, they liked it, so they decided, hey, let's just finish it together. But it's more of a spiritual predecessor instead of an actual prequel. Completely separate stories and characters, which is kind of a shame. I really liked Red Harlow, who was the main character in the first one. And I was so sure that was him in the first images we saw of Red Dead Redemption. If you look at Red and John, they both share similar facial scars, but it was later confirmed that this was done simply as a visual homage to connect the two. Dark Souls was released in 2011. You could argue now who should have won, but the fact is nobody really knew about this hidden gem yet. It had just started its slow crawl into our hearts. But there was another game coming out that year which was a part of a very popular franchise which already had millions of fans just dying to get their hands on the next sequel. The winner of 2011 has been released on everything. Everywhere, and multiple times. It's a bit silly, yes, but there's a reason why so many people still play this game even today. The base game is great, absolutely, but let's be honest, what really makes this game a masterpiece are mods. They are the reason why this game has such a long lifespan. Check out some of the mod collections that they have these days. You can slap a package of 1,000 mods on top of it, at which point it's not even the same game anymore. It's insane, and I love it. But let's be fair, we do have to thank Bethesda for creating this absolutely incredible sandbox for us. They did a good job with it. A lot of us RPG lovers have the most playtime in this game. If it's not at the top, then it's at least close. I usually come back to this every few years. I pack it full of mods to a point where it just starts crashing every 5 minutes, and then I just give up and uninstall it again. And now, 15 years later, and the sequel still doesn't have a release date. Now, don't get me wrong, I definitely don't want them to rush it, but let's be real. 15 plus years is too much time between games. And you know what Todd said? He thinks it's good to miss things. Listen, Todd, I like you. I really do. I think you're great. And you're right about missing things, but only if it's for like a couple of years, maybe a handful, not the amount of time it takes between being born and acquiring a driving license. What's wrong with you? Sorry about that. Let's move on. Hey you, it's been a pretty intense list, huh? Yeah. The Walking Dead, winner of 2012, was also full of very intense moments. You could say I have a love-hate relationship with these types of games. Games where you usually have to make quick, important choices under pressure. Probably says a lot about me as a person, but it's not that I can't handle pressure. The thing is, when I play games, I want it to go my way. And that probably makes me sound like a control freak. Okay, let me specify even more. My time is quite limited, so I don't like it when I feel like it's being wasted for nothing. I understand these games are all about choices and consequences, and I like that concept. Even if you make a bad choice, you just have to live with it. But every once in a while, something silly happens. Maybe I didn't focus at a critical moment, maybe I pressed the wrong button, or I get a phone call. Those are not the consequences I want to continue living with. So I have two options. Either I waste my time by starting over, or finish it knowing that the ending is just a big fat mistake. And as a result, once again, feeling like I wasted my time. And I don't have time to replay these games several times. Getting one ending is good enough for me. I don't need all 5. I can just check the remaining ones from YouTube and save several hours. So yeah, I'm not being weird. This is all about just a specific play style that we all have. Just like some people like to play the bad guy and make the evil choices, and some people want to make all the nice choices and be the hero. All of this sounded like super negative, didn't it? It's really not. I really did enjoy this game and other games similar to it, but like I said, it's a very complicated relationship. Were your parents just like mine, and they thought games were just some stupid thing for kids? Well, I mean, it was kind of hard to prove them wrong with games like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro the Dragon. But in 2013, a little game called Last of Us came out. Now that game made a massive impact on a lot of people. It's one of those games you should show your parents or to someone who's not a gamer. If you've played it, then you know that the first 15 minutes is enough. That will make them go, oh wow, maybe games are not that silly after all, and they're gonna want to see more. But don't do what my friend did, okay? Especially if you're a kid. I forgot to tell you about this when we were talking about San Andreas, but when that game came out, one of my friends decided to show it to his parents. First of all, we were way too young to be playing that game. And second of all, they were the church-going type, so they were a little bit more strict than your typical parents. Anyway, so he tells his parents, hey, look at this game. You can do anything you want. And then he starts driving like a madman over people. Jumps out of the car, pulls out a rocket launcher, starts blowing up cop cars. Guess what the parents did? They took away his console and they threw the game into the trash bin. I know. I mean, what was he thinking? Well, at least he didn't show that you can actually pay a lady of the night for some fun time, and once you're done with her, then you drive over her with your car so you can, get your money back. Anyway, 2013 Game of the Year did not go to Last of Us though. It went to GTA 5. What should I even say about this game? It's another Rockstar masterpiece. You've all played it. The sales numbers speak for themselves. 225 million copies sold, and has generated over 8 billion to date. That is absolutely insane. Hope I'm not lying, but if I remember correctly, they earned back the development budget from pre-orders. So that would mean that day one was already pure profit, and they broke all day one sales records. Fastest selling entertainment product in history with 11 million copies sold, meaning they made 800 million in the first 24 hours. Now that's GTA 5 for you. In 2014, Jeff Keighley gave birth to the Game Awards, the Oscars for games. I understand the growing pains, but I feel like there's a lot of criticism pretty much every year. Some of it probably deserved, but I don't think all of it. Personally, I think it's great. I think it's even necessary. It's one of those things that even if it's bad, it's still good, so I'm happy we have it. I mean, I think it would suck if the Game Awards suddenly ended. But anyway, their first Game of the Year winner was Dragon Age Inquisition. Good game overall, but I do believe the opinions were, well, they were quite divisive. There was a lot of love, but there were also things that were just not clicking with people. A lot of the quests were not that interesting and felt more like filler. And then there were people who didn't like the changes they made compared to Dragon Age Origins. But the biggest talking point has to be the game engine. The Frostbite engine was made by DICE for games like Battlefield, and it was a great engine, but it was not designed for large-scale open-world RPGs. But EA forced BioWare to use it anyway. And then there was another victim, which was BioWare's other game, Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm sure many of us remember how that went. But yeah, Inquisition is not exactly the strongest winner on the list. There were many good games that year, but the competition wasn't very crazy. I guess there just wasn't anything mind-blowing that year. Speaking about minds being blown, winner of 2015 was The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and that game did just that. It blew absolutely everyone's mind. Except a couple of things. Was there maybe a little downgrade drama going on? Yeah, there was. The game looked great, but didn't exactly look like the announcement trailer did. Year before that, we had the same thing with Watch Dogs. Developers either set an unrealistic quality bar for themselves, or they just fake it because, hey, give me money. It's so silly when they do that. But back to Witcher. Yes, there were also some technical issues at launch, but it wasn't a cyberpunk level disaster. Personally, I didn't even really experience any of these crashes or bugs, so I guess I got lucky. For me, it was pure joy. I haven't been glued to a screen with an RPG like that since probably Skyrim. And that's the weird part I don't get. There were actually a lot of very direct comparisons between the two. Why would you even do that? Sure, they're both RPGs, but they're so different. It just didn't make any sense to me. Anyway, this absolutely belongs in the RPG Hall of Fame. And don't ignore the 2 expansions either. They might be the best expansions ever made. And we just received the craziest news that they're making a new expansion called Songs of the Past. Can you believe that? That's 11 years after the release. But hey, I'm not complaining. I had an itch to return anyway, so this is absolutely perfect. Before we move on, this victory was totally deserved, right? But I feel like I should mention something. There was a little game called Bloodborne released this year. So, yeah, listen, I'm not gonna stay and argue about it. I'm not gonna take sides. I can't, okay? I just can't. I'm gonna move along. Overwatch, winner of 2016, is an always-on and ever-evolving free-to-play team-based action game set in an optimistic future, where every match is the ultimate 5v5 or 6v5 battlefield brawl. Yes, I just read the Steam page description. Why? I've never played it. Not my cup of tea. Another thing I noticed from Steam is that this game of the year is not doing so hot. Let's check out some of the latest reviews. I have never been closer to putting a rope around my neck. Oop. Sucks the happiness from your soul. Yep. Pretty standard stuff for a game of the year. Anyway, this game was actually built from the scraps that was originally supposed to be Blizzard's Project Titan. the super ambitious next generation MMORPG, which was being spoken of as the successor to World of Warcraft. Now that would have been my cup of tea. But unfortunately, after 7 years of development, it was cancelled in 2014. The biggest reason being the lack of a proper core gameplay loop, and like I said, it was just way too ambitious. I missed a few of the Game Boy ones, but I've pretty much played and loved all of the Zelda games. In 2017, Breath of the Wild gave me one of those rare magical moments. I felt like a little kid again. Every time you play a Zelda game, you know you're going on a big adventure, and Breath of the Wild was no different. Actually, it was even more so because the new, very sandboxy direction they took. The franchise went through a pretty big redesign, and it delivered. Absolutely incredible experience. It was so much fun exploring and discovering things in this world, and there was a lot of content, so it took a long time to complete. One little kickback from some of the players was the lack of proper story. I mean, sure, you could say it's just like with Mario. Oh no, the princess is missing. That's the bad guy. Go kill. There's a little bit more meat, but that is the bones of it. In Breath of the Wild's defense, it actually had more story than any of the previous ones. But you gotta remember, it's an old franchise that kinda follows its original pattern. Us dinosaur gamers from back in the early Nintendo days understand. Back then, stories, graphics were way more simpler and gameplay was king. And for me personally, it still is that way. Yes, I love a good story and graphics matter too. I like shiny things, I want shiny things, but gameplay is always what matters the most. Everything else is basically a bonus. People spoke about this one for years, and then Tears of the Kingdom came out, which was pretty much a direct sequel. I mentioned that because that hasn't really happened before. And this one was even bigger and better in almost every way, which is absolutely crazy. But it wasn't quite the same renaissance as Breath of the Wild was, so it was a bit unfortunate to see people move on from it a bit faster. But that doesn't make me any less excited for whatever comes next, because I already know that when the next game comes out, I will get it, and I will also get the same feeling again. I will feel like a little kid going on a big adventure. God of War, the winner of 2018, started off on a very thin ice. Many fans called it Dad of War and were getting their pitchforks ready, and who can blame them? Look at the original trilogy. Kratos loses his family and starts ripping Greek gods to pieces. This guy runs on pure rage and revenge. So who is this slightly grumpy old man and why does he have a kid? Even the original creator, David Jaffe, didn't like the direction, and neither did the people at Sony. And let's be honest, reboots also fail more often than they succeed. It did not look good. But against all odds, it became a massive success, both critically and commercially. And I'm glad. I'll be honest, I was always hoping it would. I never want a game to fail, and I'm sure many of us feel the same way. Sometimes it's all too obvious that a game will stink big time, even if it's far from release. You know, you can just tell. But even then, I don't want to push out any hate before there really is a reason to do so. And these days, there are a lot of reasons to do so. Anyway, I didn't have the same connection with the original trilogy like many others did, so maybe it was easier for me to open my heart to it. I liked it a lot, and the sequel, God of War Ragnarok, also. So if there's more coming, I will take it. The 2019 winner was Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Just like Bloodborne, Sekiro mixed things up a bit from the normal Souls formula. It's a bit more locked in on the story, so there's no traditional character creator, and you play as a set protagonist called the Wolf. Gameplay also focused more on mobility and parry-based combat. It was different enough to split some of the players' opinions, but as you can see, it won Game of the Year, so majority loved it. So did I, but I have to be honest, I never actually finished it. I had just completed Dark Souls 3 and then jumped directly to Sekiro. I felt a bit fatigued, so I fell off at one point. Needed to patch up my old wounds and play something a bit more chill, and then I just never got back to it, and now it's even harder to do so, because whenever I have a Souls itch, I just fire up a little game called Elden Ring. Yeah, that one keeps me well fed. My personal game of the year in 2020 was Ghost of Tsushima, but the actual winner was Last of Us Part 2. There are many things you can't argue about this game. Naughty Dog makes top quality games, that's simply a fact. Gustavo returned to do the soundtrack and once again it was beautiful. But the story you can argue about for days. Should there even be a sequel? I mean, sure, why not? This game is all about the story, so as long as there's a good story to tell, do it. Do I agree with the direction the story took? Absolutely not. And it's not even about Joel's fate. That part was almost expected. But this is not the story I or many others wanted. There are so many things I want to say, but I just can't be bothered. They did it the wrong way, and that's all I will say. It Takes Two won in 2021, and the answer is literally in the name. Good game if you play alone, but an incredible experience if you play it together with someone. Every once in a while, I looked for a game to play with my girlfriend. She's not a gamer like I am, and she's mostly locked in The Sims, pretty much exclusively. But I wanted to play something together, and what's mostly available is challenging platformers that are fun only for a little while. So picking this game up was a tiny blessing. We had so much fun. I still remember some of the moments like it was yesterday. It was kind of sad once it was over. I wish more games like these came out more often. Playing this together with her was such a lovely experience, and I just want to have 100 more. 2022 belongs to no one else but Elden Ring. What can I say that has not been said yet? Unicorns are not real, okay? Are you confused? Good. When I played this game, I felt like I found one. Filled with disbelief and equal amount of excitement. I felt like I have to tell someone. I have to, I mean, come on, it's a f***ing unicorn. Wait, maybe not. Well, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm sure they will just laugh it off. Oh yeah? Are you sure about that? Maybe they will think, oh no, is my buddy okay? I think he might be losing it. And if you keep pushing it, they will call the white coats on you. No. This is too big. I have to. It's worth the risk. So you go and tell them, but then you realize that everyone has found a unicorn. Does any of that make any sense? No? Maybe I've been sitting here too long. I gotta get some fresh air. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. No, I'm good. Baldur's Gate 3, the winner of 2023. I don't think there is another game out there where choices and consequences have as big of an effect as they do in this game. Larian did not only deliver a fantastic game, but also a simple lesson to the gaming industry. Just focus on making good games, and I salute Sven Vinky for that. Yes, it's hard to make a game, but there is the other side of the coin that we're talking about here. It's the developer's focus. Are they trend chasing, or are they trying to make a game for everyone, which ends up being a game for no one? Or are they packing it full of microtransactions, loot boxes, and other kind of monetary blocks to the enjoyment of the game? The AAA industry has forgotten about innovation and passion. Maybe not the developers themselves, but decision-making executives at the top definitely have. Obviously, money needs to be made to keep the doors open, but then don't focus on greed and focus on what it has always been about, fun. Focus on that and the money will follow. Just like Sven said, it really is that simple. "2024 went to Astrobot. I did not play this one, so there is not much I can say about it from a personal perspective. Around this time I sold my consoles and became a full-time PC player, but it's basically Sony's version of Mario Odyssey, and that one I did play and loved, so I'm sure I would have enjoyed Astrobot also. but the win was a bit controversial. Black Myth Wukong was a nominee that year, and many players felt it was overlooked and should have won. Whispering Winds say that it was overlooked because it was made by a Chinese developer. But was it a better game? I don't know. Once again, I can't provide an opinion because I did not play that one either. If you played both, well, then you know the answer. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. The closer we get to 2026, the more games I've missed. Not even missed, but just haven't had time to play. My Steam library has so many games that I haven't even touched. My backlog is insane. Hard to disagree with the winner of 2025. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was a very special game for multiple different reasons. One for being an incredible underdog success story, and how the game became what it is thanks to very talented and passionate people. The story behind the development is absolutely incredible, and I recommend you check out the making of videos. It's not one lightning in a bottle moment, it's more like 10 of those moments. The game itself delivered on all fronts. Story, gameplay, soundtrack were all just so good. This is one of those rare games that feels like it has a heart and a soul. It takes you through all the emotions. It can make you laugh, it can make you scared, it can make you cry. I won't spoil anything. If you have played it or watched others play it, then you know that there are a few moments that can really hit hard. I'm not a tough guy, but I'm pretty good at holding back. I'm not dead inside, so I feel these moments, but they hardly ever get me. In the beginning of the game, during the Gamache, many people dropped a tear. It was a sad moment, but I was fine. Until I saw the kids hugging. They had lost their parents and were all alone now. The thing is, a few years before this game came out, I became a father. So yeah, this moment, it broke me. But yeah, hats off to the developers. Seriously, it's just very well made and deserves all the praise. I am very excited to see what these people will make next. And there you go. 25 games across 25 years. If you've been a gamer that long, then there are most likely hundreds more games between that gap. When I hear words like, it's just a game, I feel like they're missing out. There are so many special moments and memories thanks to these past 25 years of gaming. And it's not over. I will keep collecting these tiny little treasures for many more years. Thank you for your time. You're an absolute champion if you made it all the way to the end. So really, thank you, and hope to see you in the next one.